All right, let's jump right into this. If you're a focused learner looking to level up from, just casually chatting with AI to actually building unstoppable agentic systems, you are in the exact right place. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a really deep dive into the playbook of an AI power user. We're going to look at exactly how to build these high-impact automations that just run completely in the background. And honestly, just as importantly, how to master the invisible game of token economics so you don't completely blow your budget while doing it. So here's our playbook for today. It's broken down into 5 key areas. We're starting with the automation mindset, then supercharging your workspace, looking at the hidden cost of context, mastering token economics, and then we'll wrap up with something pretty fun, the AI virtual pet. Okay, let's kick things right off with section 1, the automation mindset. To really be a power user, we basically have to flip our whole way of thinking. We need to focus on building systems that do the heavy lifting for us. So ask yourself, what does an AI power user actually look like in practice? Well, imagine you just hopped off a discovery call with a potential client. Instead of spending your whole evening writing up a proposal, your system automatically captures the meeting, analyzes the transcript, and then just spits out a highly converting client presentation. By implementing a system exactly like this, one user literally recaptured over 350 productivity hours a year. And here is a perfect example of how that kind of system is built using AnyDone. First up, a webhook grabs the raw meeting transcript straight from Fireflies. Next, an AI agent jumps in to clean up the data. It separates the speakers and summarizes the core business problems. Then that same agent shoots off an API call directly to Gamma, which is a presentation software, and feeds it a really heavily structured prompt. And the result? A stunning, completely ready-to-go slide deck that outlines the problem, the ROI, and the implementation roadmap. The AI gets you like 90% of the way there. You just tweak it a bit and send it off. It's that simple. And you can apply that exact same automation mindset to voice too. Building a voice agent used to mean endlessly clicking through these super complex dashboards. But if you break an 11 Labs voice agent down, it's really just 4 pillars, right? Persona, voice, knowledge, and tools. By using Claude Code right in your terminal, you can literally just use natural language to wire all these together. You ask your AI to build an 11 Labs agent, ground it in your specific business data, and hook it up to a tool like cal.com. Just like that, it can autonomously check your availability and book client calls directly from your website. It's pretty amazing. Moving right along to section 2, supercharging your workspace. So automation is great, absolutely. But we also need to integrate AI directly into the tools that we use every single day. The old way of doing this was relying on these super clunky API calls or really complex MCP, that's Model Context Protocol servers. And the problem was, these just ate up a massive amount of your token context on every single message. The new way? The open source Google Workspace CLI. This gives your AI agent JSON first, auto-discovered access to your Docs, Drive, Gmail, and Calendar with basically zero overhead. I mean, just look at this quote from a developer using this exact tool. You can drop a YouTube link right into your terminal, and Claude Code will download the transcript and instantly create a beautifully formatted Google Doc resource guide, complete with all the headers and links. And it does this, quote, not via API call, not via MCP, but via a bash command directly in the terminal. It is an absolute game changer for your speed and efficiency. Okay, now we really need to talk about section 3, the hidden cost of context. Because here is where we hit a massive roadblock. All of this incredible automation completely depends on how well you manage your context. You see, as your coding or brainstorming session grows, you run a huge risk of suffering from context rot, or what some developers are actually calling AI dementia. Because of how tokens work, every single time you send a message, the AI has to reread the entire conversation from the very beginning. So as that history gets bloated, the model's attention gets spread way too thin. It gets distracted, it starts ignoring your specific instructions, and honestly, it just produces noticeably worse outputs. Okay, get ready, because this number is wild, 98.5%. One developer tracked a session with over 100 messages and found that 98.5% of the total tokens processed were spent just rereading the old chat history. Think about that. That means your cost isn't just slowly adding up, it is compounding exponentially on every single turn. You're basically paying a fortune just to have the AI reread things you already discussed like an hour ago. And this data proves exactly why simply having a bigger context window isn't some magic fix. AI models might advertise a 1 million token window, but look at the actual data here. At 256,000 tokens, the retrieval accuracy is at an excellent 92%. But if you stuff that window all the way to 1 million tokens, accuracy drops all the way down to 78%. So just because you have a million token window doesn't mean you should ever actually fill it. The larger the window gets, the more space there is for the model to just get sloppy and confused. Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, Mastering Token Economics. We need exact, rapid-fire strategies to keep our context pristine and, keep our wallets happy. So, first up, always start in plan mode. Don't let the AI write a single line of code until you both agree on the architecture. This prevents thousands of wasted tokens on wrong paths. Second, don't wait for the system to auto-compact at 95% capacity. That's kind of like frantically packing a suitcase 5 minutes before a flight. Instead, manually compact your context at around 60%. Third, you've got to use the /re or rewind command. If the AI makes a mistake, don't just tell it to try again, because that mistake is going to stay in its memory forever. Rewind the conversation and drop that bad context entirely. And finally, for basic research, just spawn a subagent using a much cheaper model like Haiku so you aren't burning your premium tokens on super simple tasks. Because to truly master token economics, you have to understand exactly where the real financial drain is coming from. Input tokens, so the text you send and the files you upload, those are relatively cheap. But output tokens, the code and the text that the AI generates and sends back to you, those are significantly more expensive. They will drain your usage limits incredibly fast. You have to be deeply, deeply intentional about what you actually allow the AI to run and generate. And this is exactly why you need to adopt what we call the 200-line rule for your system prompt files like Claude.md. You see, this file loads silently in the background on every single prompt you send. So if you dump 1,000 lines of code guidelines in there, you are paying for those same 1,000 lines every time you just say hello. Keep it strictly under 200 lines. Treat it as a super lean index that points to other files only when they're actually needed. The golden rule here is save decisions, not conversations. All right, let's lighten things up a bit for Section 5, the AI virtual pet. Because mastering these elite terminal workflows doesn't have to be all work and no play, right? Tucked away in a recent update as an April Fool's Easter egg is the Claude Code Buddy. By just typing /buddy directly into your terminal, you instantly spawn a little Tamagotchi-style companion. And honestly, the best part? It costs absolute 0 tokens to run. It just sits right there in your terminal, watches you work, and occasionally drops a little speech bubble with its own snarky commentary about your project. But here's the real genius part of this. It's actually a collector's game. Your buddy is deterministically seeded to your specific account ID based on your actual coding habits. The AI analyzes your behavior, assigns you stats like chaos or patience, and then it rolls for rarities here. You have a 60% chance of getting a common pet like a turtle, but only a 1% chance of pulling a legendary robot. And you can't just re-roll it. You are permanently locked in with whatever rarity you pull, which actually makes it an incredibly fun little badge of honor inside your workspace. So, wow, we have covered a massive amount of ground today in this explainer, from client proposal automations and voice agents all the way down to the nitty-gritty of strict context hygiene and, of course, terminal pets. The big takeaway here is that being a true power user isn't about just throwing massive token budgets at a problem. It's about efficiency, structure, and really smart system design. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If you master this invisible game of token economics and you reclaim hundreds of hours of your time, what kind of unstoppable systems will you build next? Thanks so much for joining me today, and happy building.